Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 110 of the Run in the Paint podcast. I'm Miles here with Joey, Nick, and Jackson. We got the whole crew today, guys. How are you doing?
Feeling good, feeling great. What is up, my boys?
Hey, everybody. Happy to be back with the full gang.
Yeah, I'm excited. Excited to talk basketball.
Yeah, he's back. He's back. Look at him. He's cheesing already. And
That'd be cheesing. That's me cringing. My voice.
He's back, everyone. Jackson Goglin finally back here. We've got a big episode here today. News around the NBA has kind of plateaued a little bit. Not a whole lot of new things to talk about here. So we figured perfect time to focus on some lottery teams, preview their off seasons that, a lot of teams that haven't had the best seasons, but still have promising futures that we'll go over here later on here today. But first, let's start off with PERTL, and Jackson is back. So we're going to let him guess the first player. Who should we guess first for PERTL, Jackson?
Been talking a lot of smack off the pod.
That is correct. Good first guess.
I literally just said about Kobe Brown. Stop chilling me. Well, it's a guy I don't really like at all right now because he's kind of tombstone pile drivering me in fantasy. It's Quentin Grimes.
He can't stop thinking about Quentin Grimes, and
I'm actually so sick of this guy.
He has been balling. Let's see if that's a good first guess.
Okay. No, it's an awful guess.
Well, no, not. It's a 3. What is this? A 2, 1, or 0 or 00 jersey number.
Oh, true.
That's in the East.
Immediately.
And not in the Atlantic Division. So Central or South.
Oh man! All right, automatically, this is not a bad place to be in. Let's see here.
So it's the East.
I mean, there aren't a lot. We don't know if it's a forward or a center, but it's not like there aren't many big guys that wear
small numbers.
Small numbers. So I feel like we can get
it's not Atlantic Division. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Milwaukee.
Flip and go. It's an older guy.
Yeah, it's 27 or
the shorter
is
number.
Jalen Duren number 0?
Jalen Duren is number 0, but he's
but he's young too.
Yeah, he'll be young.
Yeah, no, he's too young.
27 years old.
I'm just trying to think of taller guys.
No, I appreciate it.
If it's a wing player, we could guess a guy like Max Strus.
Don't even mention his name.
I really think it's someone in the Central, so I'm thinking like Cavs, Bucks, Pacers, Pistons.
I think it could be too, or maybe it's Obi Toppin.
I was thinking like
is Obi 27 already?
He may not be. That's why I think.
Well, he was in.
I'm just trying to think of guys.
He's pretty old.
Thomas Bryant a low number?
Thomas Bryant.
No, he's 5.
I think he's 13.
Whatever. He's some. Is that what Tristan Thompson wears too?
Yeah.
Oh, what a loser.
Okay.
I think Obi Toppin's not a bad guess. He was definitely older in college.
Let's go for it. Well, let's try, and we'll get the division knocked out of the way. Well, I can't type. All right, Obi Toppin, number 1 in the Southeast Division.
He's 27. Good job.
Age is right, and he okay. And we
So,
know the division.
so number one. So number one on the Hornets is LaMelo. So that's not going to be it.
number 1 on the Magic.
Jonathan Isaac.
John Isaac.
And he's taller, and he's a forward.
It is John Isaac.
It is 100%.
Let's go.
Jonathan Isaac.
There it is.
Obi Toppin was a good second one. Got us there.
Yeah.
Great job, everyone.
Good job.
Was
That
that
was
a better PERTL for you, Goglin?
Up to standard.
Yeah.
Finally up to standard. We're slowly getting back. After the last 2, we got a 6 and a 5. We get a 3, so that's definitely all we can ask for. But now let's get into our lottery season or our lottery team off-season preview here, because for all these teams, we're going to cover 9 teams here today. We're going to cover every team that looks like will for sure be in the lottery and not be in the postseason. Since, for probably the next 3 months, we probably won't be talking about them a whole lot here. So this is always interesting because in the lottery, especially this season, we have a nice mix of young rebuilding teams and older teams that had expectations that just really struggled this year. So, Nick, what team do you want to start off with? Where do you want to go here?
Oh man, I get to choose our adventure.
Let's do it.
I think we need to start in the deepest, darkest part of the woods. Let's go all the way out to Philadelphia. Start with the 76ers.
Let's start off with the 76ers. This season obviously did not go as planned here in the offseason. They made a whole lot of changes. They got the big three, Paul George, Maxey, and Embiid. And due to injuries, mainly for Embiid, and just them not really ever being able to get on the court together, they just weren't ever really able to get any sort of rhythm on the offensive end or the defensive end either. They've had to play 26 different players on their roster already this season, and it's really kind of been lost since like the midway point of the season where they kind of ruled everybody out. So that marks that this is a huge offseason for the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that obviously made a whole bunch of moves and it wants to win a championship in this Joel Embiid era here. They do have a lot of decisions that they will have to make. Obviously, the big three is all under contract, but free agent-wise, they've got 3 players with player options, Kelly Oubre, Andre Drummond, and Eric Gordon, that could all decide whether they want to go back to Philly or not. And unrestricted free agents, Kyle Lowry, and maybe the 2 most successful players they've had on their team this year, Gershon Yabusele and Quentin Grimes, which is just incredible what Quentin Grimes has been doing. Joey, where do you want to start with the Sixers offseason? What do you think that they need to do to kind of get on track? Is it as simple as we just need an offseason for them to get healthy and then they can gel?
Well, the problem with just saying that is because we've been saying that for the last as many years as they had Ben Simmons and Embiid. Ever since they've had Embiid, we've always said, wait till they get healthy. They still got to you don't really have a choice. You still got to go for it. You still got to keep trying to compete while you still have the talent, and you would assume and hope they're healthy. But I'll be honest, I don't see much hope until they cut this whole kind of experiment. Either they just say it fails or eventually it succeeds. But like, you kind of just have to stick the course, kind of try to still bring in competitive pieces to keep your team like kind of above water and in the mix in the East, especially since it is a weak conference. It shouldn't be too hard, but a lot of it does come down to just getting healthy.
Jackson, what are your thoughts? We know that you usually have a lot to say about the 76ers.
Well, I'd bet on someone making a perfect bracket before Joel Embiid plays a healthy season again. Honestly, that's how little I have faith in this man. He is a loser. He is he's the worst.
How does a man's health make him a loser?
Because with all that time off, you think he'd be rehabbing and you think he'd be okay, but no, he's never okay. He's free. He's a freeloader. He's a freeloader who sits on the bench and watches his team do everything for him. And when he plays, all he does is play like a dirty player and complain and shoot free throws. He's the worst. But no, like looking at the Sixers, I think you just got to get on your hands and knees, beg and pray that your pick is 1 through 6. Because if it's not, it goes to that lovely team out west called the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just, I guess, the rich get richer because I think they're looking in a pretty good position to land this pick. I mean, I know it's like obviously not that accurate, but I did like 10 lottery simulations and their pick was in the top 6 in 2 of them. So
yeah, obviously, a lot of these teams, they need good lottery luck. I mean, that's the whole point of it, lottery teams in the offseason. But Philadelphia does currently have they're tied with the Brooklyn Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. So if it was just as simple as 6 worst teams get it, the Sixers would keep their pick, which is kind of the goal for the rest of the season here. It's to make sure that they're in the best position possible to land a top 6 pick overall here. I don't think that they could really keep on going. I think that they will end up being no worse than the 5th or 6th worst team because those bottom 4 teams are kind of ahead or worse than everyone else, depending on how you want to put it. But yeah, they need to get their first round pick. They need to get a top 6 pick in order to have any chance because That is another. Well, I mean, another solid thing that happened this season was the play of Jared McCain to start their first-round pick was probably going to win Rookie of the Year if he stayed healthy. I mean, he was playing fantastic as a scorer, especially what he was able to showcase when all those guys were out to start the season. He was able to score a little bit more. It's a little bit like Quentin Grimes is doing right now, but to a lesser scale.
Just sick of hearing that dude's name. No, but I mean, I think someone who's been watching a lot of like mock drafts and stuff, and I've been researching a lot of players in this draft. I think if you get that top 6 pick, and I'm not even saying top 6, if you get like the top 4, even like 4th, you gotta kind of pray that VJ Edgecombe. Also, I think VJ Edgecombe would be a great fit for this team. I know, Nick, you've probably watched a lot of Baylor this year. He's a guy, high flyer. He's not the greatest shooter in the world, but that's something that's easier to fix than, like, say, defense, because he's a really good on-ball defender. He's kind of been their primary guy to go on the other team's best player, at least scoring-wise. And I think he could play the 2 or the 3. I think he'd be a really good fit next to Tyrese and Jared and all those guys if they could land that. But I don't know. I mean, this is a decent, like, this draft class is so good that, like, if you're Philadelphia, this is the year you kind of want to be.
I agree that their draft is going to be important, but I think getting Oubre and Drummond back on these player options that's going to be key for them too, because they don't have a lot of guys after that. Like, I talked about comparing them in the preseason to like how Phoenix constructed their roster. Like, they put themselves in a difficult spot by signing Paul George to a max contract. They knew that going in.
Especially with him already looking like he declined in year 1. Like, this season, he played 41 games, averaged 16 points per game on not the best efficiency. Obviously showed some flashes, but I mean, this is also like Paul George averaged these numbers when guys were out. Like, you know, you would have expected him to kind of step up and be like that all-star type of version with those guys. That was kind of going to be the whole point of this when Embiid, because Embiid, obviously an injury-prone player throughout his career. It's been well documented. When he would miss games, it's like, okay, now Paul George can step up and be that all-star type of player. But that just hasn't happened because, I mean, he's 34 years old, and it's just a rough contract to have to pay for the next, 4 years. I mean, this is the first season of a 4-year deal, and that makes it difficult for them to kind of make moves going forward. And I mean, personally, so Drummond his player option is for $5 million. I think he'll take that. I mean, his role in Philadelphia is pretty good. But Kelly Oubre for $8 million, he should go out and look and see if he can get more money out on the market. So, and I mean, the Sixers are just going to have a lot of decisions to make. They're going to have to figure out what to prioritize because Quentin Grimes is an unrestricted free agent. He is playing himself out of the price line.
It says on here that he's restricted, and I don't know if this information is wrong or if you're wrong, but the difference between restricted and unrestricted is like you have the right to offer them the same amount of money or get compensation if that player decides to sign with another team.
He might, you know what? He probably is restricted because this is the end of his 4th year. But either way, like, there's no way that he's going to sign a qualifying offer for $6-7 million. He's averaging like 22, 5, and 5 for the Sixers right now. This is better than what Paul George was producing.
He'd look great in a Rockets uniform. That's all I gotta say.
What?
He'd look great in a Rockets uniform, to be honest.
He played great against the Houston Rockets.
I'm aware. I'm more than aware.
He definitely did. And then, of course, Gershon Yabusele for $2 million. They may
he'll
not
get signed.
Yeah, well, we don't know if he'll be able to go back there either. So the Sixers, I mean, that's how bad of a season it kind of has been. It's like their 2 biggest bright spots are both kind of playing so well that they may not be able to retain them going forward. And those would be key, bench pieces. So, Sixers going forward, like next year, right now, near the end of the season, they're signing guys to try to figure out, like, what young players could maybe be in the rotation. Like, we're seeing guys like Justin Edwards play a lot of starter minutes. He's playing well. He might be someone that plays a wing position when this team is good. Jalen Hood-Schifino, who they picked up in free agency, Chuma Okeke, Jared Butler, they picked up from the Wizards. So it's just it's a strange situation this offseason. It's really going to be about just getting those role players around this team here because the Sixers also just had a horrible year with injuries. And you could say that was the case for a lot of these lottery teams.
Shocker.
At least they have the Eagles in Philadelphia.
It's true.
Very,
And
very
Phillies and there too. But I mean, looking at this, can we just give James Harden his flowers really quick because he was low key right. Because Daryl Morey is a stupid idiot. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, they gave the money to Paul George instead of James Harden, within a year of each other. And James Harden at this point is still an all-star. So that is kind of crazy.
I don't know. I feel like they've had a lot of bad luck with injuries. It's kind of unfair to blame him for all of that.
Oh, yeah. Wait. Oh. Yeah, no, let's go sign all the injury-prone players, and then they're all out with injury, right?
Let's move on.
Let's move on. That's enough Philadelphia 76ers talk. We'll see what else may happen. I mean, honestly, this was kind of a rough year even when they were healthy. We'll see if Nick Nurse is still their head coach. That's someone that not really been talked about. I mean,
the coach, not the star player.
Yeah, and that could very well be what happens here. All right, Jackson, what team do you want to go to next year?
Look at the bottom of this really quick just to see who I really want to.
I request that we
favorite team.
Go to your favorite team in the Eastern Conference.
See, but their off season's easy. It's just pray.
Well, we got to talk. We got to talk about all these teams.
I say we go to the Spurs.
All right, we'll go to the San Antonio Spurs.
I was looking at their picks and stuff, and man, they got some interesting things they could do. Because I think they have. Oh wait, no, they traded Chicago. Wait, why didn't it update on here? All right, well, now I'm upset.
No, so San Antonio, of course. I mean, year 2 of Wemby, he played ridiculous this season when he did play. They trade for De'Aaron Fox at the midway point of the season, not really giving up much in return, which is just incredible. So they have their dynamic duo set for the future. And then, of course, both of those guys out for the rest of the season with injury, which is kind of good for the long run here because they'll be in the lottery and they'll have their own first-round pick along with the Atlanta Hawks unprotected first-round pick as well, who may be in the lottery depending on what happens in the play-in tournament in the Eastern Conference. So, Joey, where do you want to start with the Spurs here?
Honestly, I feel like it's a lot with a lot of these teams. At least with the Sixers and the Spurs, especially because with what we were talking about with the Sixers and Embiid getting healthy, because you've kind of built your whole thing around him because he's so talented. Same thing kind of with Wemby. Obviously, now you get De'Aaron Fox, a running mate with him, and that is just gonna be an elite duo. But it's extremely scary for blood clots and the things that Wemby is going through, and that Chris Bosh had those, and it kind of ended his career. Even though his was kind of already at the tail end, it was a couple years too early for him, I would say, and it was because of the blood clots. It's something you really don't want, but that's kind of all you kind of have to do because the future is looking bright. You're gonna get a good pick, like you said, and you kind of just start building the team and pray for health.
That's the thing with Wemby. It's a lot different than Chris Bosh. Obviously, it's still a blood clot. Bosh was in his lungs, wasn't it? That's
true.
That's that's literally
later in the career too. Like I said, it was only a couple of years too early. It's not like it was in his young 20
second year.
Second year.
It could maybe hinder Wemby shooting a little bit, just because it is in his shooting shoulder, I think, right?
I believe so. I can check on that, but keep going.
That could hinder. But then if he needs to go into the paint, at least he can do that more. He can just go bully everyone.
It's deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. So if anything, then it may affect the shooting. But kind of like we talked about at the time, I mean, the blood clots are definitely a player-by-player kind of case here because Chris Bosh, he did have to stop playing a little bit prematurely. Then, like, even recently, you've had players like, I mean, even Asar Thompson this year missed the first few months of the season with it, has come back, has looked really good for the Pistons. Brandon Ingram got blood clots at the end of his second season. I don't think either of those were in the lungs, though, like you were saying, Joey. So similar to Wemby. So I think that they should go through the offseason, acting like he's going to be, healthy here and just draft like normal. I'm curious to hear what you guys are thinking about what they should do with all the draft capital they have and all the young players they have, especially the young players that they have in the guard room as well. Because, I mean, when they brought De'Aaron Fox in, they were kind of playing a lot of different lineups in the backcourt. Obviously, they have Chris Paul that's still there. We'll see if the Spurs bring him back or if Chris Paul retires or wants to go to a contender, whatever happens there. But Chris Paul or De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and Wemby was the starting five, basically playing three guards, and Wemby there. What should they do going forward? Because they still have a lot of decent young players with Sohan, even a Vassell, a Keldon Johnson, Malachi Branham, Julian Champagne. Like, should they make a move to kind of bring some more veterans in there to try and compete for Wemby's third year? Jackson, what do you think?
I think they should bring in Julius Randle. I really think he'd fit really well next to Wemby because Wemby can kind of do this stuff defensively and Julius can kind of like do his thing offensively. And I think Wemby and De'Aaron are both De'Aaron obviously is a ball dominant player because he's a point guard, a scoring point guard. But I feel like if De'Aaron needs to, he can kind of let Juju work on a couple of on possessions here and there, which is what Julius thrives in, is that kind of ISO scoring. Give me the ball and let me go to work.
Do you think this team needs more scoring?
I mean, maybe, but I think Castle and Fox will be a really good backcourt. So I don't think you need to do anything there. And then you have Vassell. So I think Julius would just kind of help bring that to that next level because you see with these top teams, they can go out and score a ton every night, but they also play good defense. And I think they have good defenders. I think they just need that extra 20-plus point per game score because I don't know if Devin Vassell is necessarily going to bring himself to that consistently. So I think, but he is an all-star. He's a proven guy who can go out there and get you 23 plus a night if you need him to.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Before they trade anybody, they have to decide who they want to be on their roster, who is not going to get traded. And they have a ton of guys who are extension eligible coming up. And so, one thing I'm going to be looking for is if they don't make a move right away, who's getting that money and what do those contracts look like? Because that might be foreshadowing if they do want to make a move, or if they do just want to rock out and see who earns that money.
Yeah, so this summer they are going to give De'Aaron Fox his extension most likely because next year would be the final year, but he wanted to be in San Antonio. The whole purpose is for him to be there. So he'll probably sign the extension. Devin Vassell got an extension last offseason, I believe, or maybe 2 off seasons ago. Yeah, so he's under contract until 2029. And I wonder how that contract will look going forward because with the way that the Spurs are looking right now, I mean, with the way that they're playing in the backcourt, I mean, they're going to be asking Devin Vassell to kind of play the 3, and that's not his natural position. So that's where it kind of is a little funky there, where they're playing these 3 guards together, and I'm not sure if that's the best way to go for this team.
It's a very tradable contract. It's at 27 for next year, 27 the year after, then it drops down to 24 before bumping back up to 27 again in the final year.
Yeah, but who's going to take that next year? That reminds me a lot of the Jeremy Grant contract.
That's the thing. We don't really know how good Devin Vassell could be or what his role would be on a good team. What we've seen so far from his career, he gives me a lot of vibes like a scorer off the bench, something like that. I don't think that he'll ever be a top 2-3 option on a good team. And that's too big of a contract for a guy that you would probably want coming off the bench.
Yeah, especially when you could give it to someone like a Julius Randle who has been proven to be not a first or second on maybe a championship team, but he's literally carried teams to the playoffs in the past, and like
And having a good year this year. He's been good for Minnesota.
Oh, he looks bought in this year, which I'm that's why I have nothing bad to say about Julius this year. He's been bought. It looks like he's bought in more on the defensive end, and I hope Minnesota re-signs him because I think he's just a good fit there. But I wouldn't be surprised if they prioritize Naz Reid, obviously. But I think he's also just perfect fit next to Wemby. I think someone who can like kind of space the floor for Wemby and let Wemby go inside, so Wemby doesn't have to sit outside. Like you got Sohan out there, and Sohan like he can shoot a little bit, but like not really. He's like a cone out there.
Yeah, Sohan can do. He's a Swiss Army knife type of player. But Nick, to your point, I mean, looking at who will get extensions is going to be very interesting because I believe, if I'm doing this correctly, I mean, it's Jeremy Sohan and Malachi Branham and Blake Wesley, who's another point guard there, are all going to be eligible to get their second contracts for San Antonio. They're all also on team options as well. So seeing who the Spurs will prioritize is definitely going to be very interesting. Yeah. I mean, all those guys are very solid players. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad problem to have that they have all these players.
Yeah, exactly.
At some point, I think that they will probably have another move coming. And we will also see what their draft luck can be. Like, Jackson, who do you think that they should target in the draft, depending on obviously their draft situation?
If it's earlier, this is another team I wouldn't mind taking Edgecombe. I feel like Edgecombe is a good fit for pretty much any team at this point. Like he's just that type of guy. But I mean, I like Trey Johnson too. If it's earlier, like 5 or 6, 5th or 6th pick, he's just a kind of scoring guy who can get you buckets. And then I mean later in the lottery, say it's like 9, 10, 11, 12, you got like Con Knippel. I don't know if you guys have been watching Duke basketball, but he's kind of like their spot-up shooter and just a good, pesky on-ball defender who plays really well. And then if it's even later, Liam McNeely, just 2 guys who can shoot because this team needs spacing right now. Like that's why Julius was kind of on my radar, but if you can't get Julius, like go build from the draft. That's what they've been doing because I feel like that's just kind of their MO is build from within, don't really go out and sign people.
I guarantee you their main target is Ace Bailey.
Well, yeah, that's if they're top 3, yeah. He's straight up bucket, 6'10".
Yeah, like 6'10". 6'10", small forward, basically, who scores from the perimeter.
That's exactly who they need. They need an elite wing. Like you even said it earlier, even if they don't get one of those guys, one of the free agents you were talking about earlier was Kelly Oubre. That wouldn't be a bad guy for the Spurs to pick up for the wing, not going to lie.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad at all. I just feel like they're kind of in a – I mean, the Spurs I just think are in kind of a weird position because, I mean, the 3 players that you really want starting are Fox, Castle, and Wemby. And then it's figuring out who's going to be that 3-4 next to those 3 guys going forward, whether it is someone from the draft or, someone that's currently on the team right now. I mean, I think – they started Vassell at the 3 just because he's making the most money. That's honestly what I think because he's not a natural small forward. I mean, Harrison Barnes as their 4. I mean, Keldon Johnson's been more of a energy piece that's been used off the bench. He hasn't even started a game this year, and he's making $17.5 million over the next 2 seasons each. That's someone that I think could get traded and could be a valuable piece for another team because he can rebound, he can shoot, and provide that energy. In most other years, this year he's not shooting as well, and still young. He's 25.
Dude was almost an all-star. Was he an all-star like a couple years ago? I know he was on Team USA or something like that a couple years ago too.
Yeah, never an all-star, but he averaged 22.
He's a solid player, but he's definitely someone who is just kind of fallen out of that rotation. Definitely see him on the way out.
Yeah. Most likely. But moving on here, Joey, what team do you want to go to next?
Let's talk about the Hornets because they're the ones I'm kind of just really kind of confused on because I thought they were going to be good this year, or at least
a lot of us thought they would be. A lot of us thought they would be decent playing team. Like I don't even know who would we compare them to this year. Who's been the team that we thought probably the Pistons.
100%.
I thought the Hornets would have a year.
No, because I didn't see them being a 4th or 5th seed.
Well, I mean 6th seed. I mean,
I'd say
Clippers.
more like the
Hawks-
Raptors. More like the
Hawks,
Raptors,
maybe?
honestly.
In the play-in, like shows out really good a lot some games and then just looks terrible others, but like stays competitive enough to be in that 7-8 spot.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I honestly thought this team could be around the 6th seed. I thought it could be what the Pistons were doing this year.
Yo, edit that out.
Huh? Me?
Edit that out.
Well, no, because you think philosophy-wise, I mean, with LaMelo and Brandon Miller back together for another year, I thought that Charles Lee would incorporate defense with this team, and it never really was able to get off the floor. If that had happened, they would have had a Pistons like.
Well, Brandon Miller got hurt.
True.
Yeah, Brandon Miller got hurt. He only played 27 games. LaMelo's only played 46 games. Mark Williams has obviously been in and out.
Yeah.
And
those are the 3 best players, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to include Bridges.
And yeah, Miles Bridges has had a really good, year. He's averaging 21, 8, and 4 assists. But Mark Williams, I think, is the guy to talk about here because I believe he's a restricted free agent or he's got a team option going into next year.
He's locked up next year, yeah.
And we obviously saw that they were about to trade him, that they traded him to the Lakers because they were concerned about his future going forward. And obviously the Lakers, I mean, we're not going to talk about them in this video, but they are a team that still is going to prioritize that center position next year. So do you guys think that a Mark Williams to the Lakers trade they may go back to those talks in the offseason? Will the Hornets look to trade Mark Williams to another team? Like, is he still going to be a part of their future?
If they were smart, they would try to work it out because he is a very talented dude, but they just got to get whatever's going on to lock in. But I don't know. If they're willing to get rid of him, it might be already a fractured relationship. It's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out whether or not that bridge is burned, or if it's worth rebuilding.
Yeah, right. Mark Williams
He's
been
a
playing
solid
this
player.
Yeah, and he's been playing, since then as well. Like, it's not a situation where like, oh, we tried to trade you, we couldn't, so now we're just going to sit you for the rest of the season so we can trade you in the offseason. He's been playing, and he's been playing very well. Like, since
15 and 10 in 26 minutes a night, 1.3 blocks on 60% from the field, and 80% from the line.
Yeah, and in the 14 games since that whole trade thing happened, he's played in 14 of the Hornets, 20 games around there. He's only missed like 5 or 6 games since the trade deadline, averaging the 15, 11, 62% from the field, 85% from the free throw line at 23 years old. Like, he shows really good promise when he's healthy. That's obviously the big if and the big when he's healthy, because he hasn't been healthy a lot through his career. He's played 37 games. Is this going to be his career high in games played? He's about he played 43 his rookie year. He was nearly there.
I'm just looking at this. I know I keep mentioning the draft, but their draft specifically, I think could also have a huge impact on Mark Williams' future. Because I know I was texting about this guy in the group chat. If they get say 5 or 6, I could see them taking Kaman Maliwatch out of Duke. Literally on the NBA website, his player comparison is Mark Williams.
Yeah.
But he's 7'2", 250. He's great at blocking shots, catching lobs, and I think he's just literally a perfect player to go play with Melo. He's 18 years old, so 5 years younger. If they're able to land him, I could see them maybe taking him and then doing something else with Mark Williams, like trading him or using him to help develop him or something.
Yeah, that would definitely be the preference. Something that I'm sure everyone's going to have an eye on with this Hornets team is the offseason, is the future of LaMelo Ball with the Charlotte Hornets, because of the fact of his injury history and his kind of leadership as well. On the court, when he's played, I mean, he wasn't very efficient, but I mean, he had a good, statistical counting stat type of season. But obviously there are going to be questions. He hasn't really been able to stay on the court much. Is it worth having him still there to lead the franchise when they haven't really gone anywhere. They haven't really made any strides going forward after 5 years. This is LaMelo's 5th year in the league already, and they haven't really made any strides. Are we do we need to make a move here and kind of change gears in this rebuild? I think that, Joe, I think when you said that we don't really know this direction, this is kind of where we're at.
It's definitely a question to bring up that maybe it's time to move on with this Melo experiment. Like, there's been a whole lot of things that they have had the best team, not really any coaching stability. Like, this has just been a garbage fire franchise ever since Melo's kind of gotten there. And it doesn't seem like it's getting much better. Like, we throw away, like, oh, who's going to be the new GFF? But, like, at least Brooklyn kind of has a direction. They started trading their players, getting draft assets.
Yeah, the Nets, we'll get to them later. They will not be in contention for GFF.
Yeah, they know where they're going. The Hornets, they have a plan, but it keeps getting, like, postponed and setbacks after setback. And then, like what you just said, it might be time. You definitely at least have to start having those questions in that front office. For sure.
I just don't even know what like a trade package would look like for that dude.
Yeah, that's I don't know either, because LaMelo hasn't. Especially this year, he hasn't been able to prove himself like this year either, or really any year. Because what team is going to want someone that isn't?
I just can't imagine any other jersey than that meaningless teal and purple Hornets.
The Hornets.
It's like a kid's jersey. It looks like a kid's jersey, and LaMelo still reminds me of like a kid.
Yeah, it fits.
That's what I have questions about teams like that, like LaMelo's leadership. I don't know if I'm far off in saying that. I don't know if
it's completely valid. Maybe the Magic do something with that.
Yeah, if they need a point guard and add more offense, because Orlando does need an offensive type of player.
He would just look so weird next to that slow play style. I don't think he'd fit well. I think Trae Young would just, if they can go out and get Trae Young, I think it'd be a similar package. I think Trae would obviously go for more.
Yeah.
Are we talking about Orlando?
Yeah, if the Orlando Magic got Trae Young, which could be a conversation for future, but
yeah, that's future.
So I guess the Hornets, the drafting will be important, but like you said, Joe, it's kind of like we're playing the same sort of thing every single season. It's like, all right, players got injured. All right, we'll just try to build through the draft and we'll see what happens. It's every season, and this is the season where, a lot of us were like, man, this team could maybe do something. Like, I was really excited for Hornets basketball this year, and it just has not really been all that fun at all this year, especially with like Brandon Miller getting injured. And he had a pretty good second year as well, but it's just, man, like, it's hard to really find many bright spots with the season that the Hornets had.
I will say,
for y'all Hornets fans,
all that stuff you're saying, like, oh, it seems like they're going in a carousel, like they're not really moving at all. All that changes if they get number 1 and take Cooper Flag. Like,
right.
It's like there's your defensive player, there's your guy who can catch lobs from LaMelo, score on his own, like he does everything. He'd be amazing.
And that's the deal. If you're gonna have a season like this, you want to end up in that bottom 3, bottom 4 area to have the potential to get a guy at the top like that. And I guess, and I mean, last year obviously wasn't the greatest draft. Like, even if they had got a top pick, there wasn't going to be a player to save them, or anything like that. I mean, they got to John Salon, who hasn't really had that good of a rookie season. I mean, this is the year that you want to be, at the top of the draft to get another guy to pair on. Because if they can get that franchise-altering player to be along with LaMelo and Brandon Miller, and if they keep Mark Williams at the 5 because he's still young, you can talk yourself into this team going forward because of just the overall progression, but it's all going to come down to health. It's all going to come down to health and the draft.
So I'm not crowning them the new GFF yet. I'm like,
they're
headed that way, but if they get that number 1 pick, they
still should be. Cooper Flag can't save you from that.
LeBron James saved the Cavs from that. I hate to tell you that.
I don't know if LeBron James comparing LeBron.
I wasn't
to
even a
Flag.
fan, okay, so
I don't know. I remember I saw the clip. Colin Cowherd. I remember when he compared Ben Simmons to LeBron James.
Yeah, he's a top
Whoever
5 player in the
LeBron
league
believes
after his
in
rookie
there.
year, according to Colin Cowherd. That was
Don't
a time.
no need to worry, LeBron. You can retire. Go off.
We're
and do
good.
retirement.
Yeah.
We're good.
All right. Moving on from the Hornets, let's see. Let's go to the Pelicans. The Pelicans, another team. I mean, this is probably the biggest example of a team that just got completely destroyed by injuries to every single possible player. It was absolutely unbelievable. All the injuries that they got hit by to begin the year, and they just were never really to get their foot started this season. They're 19-53. They're gonna potentially have they're right there with the Hornets for the third worst record in the NBA. But this is obviously a team that has so much young talent, and players that are playing like all-stars. They traded away Brandon Ingram midway through the season. They have that cloud, now done. And they've got great performances, mainly from Trey Murphy this season. He's been a beast this year. Has completely taken that jump. Zion over the last month or so has started to play more games. They've been playing him at the small forward position with more spacing out there, and it's been pretty decent.
Misi.
Yeah, with Misi and Olynyk out there. So this team is another team where every year we're like, man, this team has potential because of, all the pieces that they have. What do they need to do in the offseason to get back to that point? Jackson.
Four words, or I guess it's 5 technically. But Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey. I think, and then obviously health, but I think if you can land one of those 2 in the draft, I think that would do wonders. Because obviously you want Coop, but I honestly, with Zion, I don't know how he'd fit next to Zion, just because they're too like Cooper's not the best floor spacer and Zion's not the best floor spacer. Obviously, I think 2 incredibly talented players can make it work, but I think Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey would just fit so much better because they could just be that microwave, that guy who's going to go out there and just score. Because I think they obviously have Trey Murphy, but Trey Murphy's health's always been a concern, so never really sure. But I don't know. I like both those guys for the Pelicans. Wouldn't mind, obviously, I've said him a lot, but VJ Edgecombe, I think he fits with so many teams. But he'd be a good guy to plug in next to DeJounte whenever he eventually hopefully gets healthy.
Are there any free agents you guys think that they should target this offseason? Because they do have $22 million expiring off Bruce Brown.
Yeah, so, the strange thing with this Pelicans team being this low, it's been because of injury. Because, honestly, I feel like when healthy, I don't know how much more this team really needs. They're pretty deep.
So good.
With the starting unit and the bench unit as well. And they're young. They're athletic. They can shoot. They can defend. They can make plays. It's a very strange situation. But looking at free agents, let's see here. Who would fit? Obviously,
what about
get more shooting?
Yeah, like Karis.
Karis LeVert, another, yeah. Karis LeVert, maybe. That wouldn't be a bad fit. That wouldn't be a bad fit there.
I don't know if they need to sign any free agents. A lot of their guys have gotten a lot of experience this year.
They could use another big, like Clint Capella is going to be on the market.
That's true.
Clint Capella could be good. I honestly like their team the way it is now.
Brook Lopez, John Collins are going to be out there. I think they could bring one of those guys in.
Herb Jones, though. Herb Jones can run the backup 5.
Remember? Yeah, that was the thing to start there. They were going to play him at the 5, but
he should be starting. We
don't know the deal when DeJounte is going to get back from his injury. I'm curious to see if they are going to make any trades to kind of address the money situation, because going into next year, Zion $39 million salary, CJ McCollum 30, DeJounte 31, and Trey Murphy's going to be in the first year of his $25 million extension. I don't know how close that puts them to the second apron. But this is not a team that should be paying anywhere close to the second apron for the production that they've gotten over the first 6 years of Zion's career. So will they make a trade? Will they move on from CJ McCollum, even though he's been great, and he's an expiring contract? There's a lot of questions regarding that with this team, and or if they'll go into next year with the mindset of, hey, we've got a really talented team. We just got destroyed by injuries, almost like Memphis was last year, and they go in next year and they're finally, a decent regular season team. But this is one of those teams where every single year they get some type of injury. This year it's just all combined and everyone's got hurt at some point.
Yeah, I think the difference between them and Memphis, obviously, like they need that second guy where if Zion does go down, they can kind of like shoulder the burden, like a Jaren Jackson Jr. when Ja went down, or like even like Desmond Bane when they both went down. Like both those guys played really good and stepped up, or even like a Franz Wagner did when Paolo went down. They need a guy like that who, if Zion goes down or doesn't play a lot, they can be a leader. They can be that all NBA level guy. And I think, I don't know. I don't know if they'll find it in free agency. I don't know if they already have it on their team with like a Trey Murphy. I don't think so with Trey Murphy. I know I'm very high on Trey Murphy, but I don't think he can be a 24, 25 point per game scorer consistently.
The thing is, like, they might have it. I mean, the problem, though, is that since they got injured right off the bat, they've had no consistencies whatsoever to kind of, basically anything that they could have planned in training camp was out the door immediately because of injury. Like there was really nothing they could do. I mean, in the 72 games that they've played this season as we're recording, they've had 39 different starting lineups. You're just not going to build any consistency when you have to start 39 different lineups throughout the course of the season. Like their most consistent starting lineup or their most common starting lineup started 12 games. And that's terrible. You're not going to win anything, with that type of inconsistency with your lineup.
Yeah. I think they need to invest in a brand new state-of-the-art training/rehab medical center.
Yep.
They need to invest in a medical staff. They need to have like one of those medical buses just follow them around.
Yeah, because whatever's been going on has not been working. Whatever's they've been doing has not been
Zion
working.
Just pulled out. Bus, go follow him. Make sure he's okay.
That's right. Make sure he's okay at the diner.
Wow, making a fact. Really original right there.
I know. At least Zion's been playing well. All right, let's move on here. I know we're going for a while here. Let's go to the Raptors. Let's go to the Toronto Raptors, who made the trade for Brandon Ingram at the middle of the season for the from the Pelicans. This is a team that I am really excited to see what they do next year. Because they basically already have their core set. They have Quickly, Barrett, Ingram, Scotty Barnes, Jakob Poeltl, and Grady Dick all under contract for the next 2 seasons. So they are set with their core. They own every first and second round pick until 2031. They have not traded any of their own picks. And so they're kind of set, with their core. So honestly, I don't know really
agents,
I don't know what moves they really need to do. I mean,
I've said this guy's name a lot too. And actually, in the NBA official mock, he's mocked to them, but it's come on, Molly Watch. I mean, I know I keep mentioning him too, but another rim protector center, just do everything for them. He's even he was shooting some threes the other day. I was like, this dude's 7'2", pulling up from 30 feet. Who does this guy think he is?
Yeah, I think the Raptors just need to kind of develop, get that chemistry, get comfortable with each other.
Yeah.
But if they do want to go after possibly like a star or something like that, they have all the flexibility with all that draft capital. I'm assuming they have decent sized cap, so they can sign extensions when need be or go against somebody, because I don't know the salary caps offhand, but the Raptors shouldn't be close.
Well, I mean, they're set. I mean, basically, like I said before, they have signed all their guys basically to extensions already up through the next 2 years. So I think that this team's plan should be next year you go into the season with this roster and your whatever first round pick. Maybe you sign a veteran or two because Garrett Temple is an expiring deal. He might retire. So you get a veteran in there to kind of get some more leadership in there. You go through the season, see what happens, and try to figure out, can any of these talented young players be the number one guy? Because to me, that's the biggest question. RJ Barrett's a very good player. Scotty Barnes is a very good player. Ingram's a very good player. I like Quickly. I like PERTL. Brady Dick had a very good sophomore season. But can any of them actually be the franchise cornerstone to take the Raptors to bigger heights? If you don't answer that question, if you can't have that number one option, throughout the season, then maybe you trade Barrett and quickly or something. You do some sort of combination with all the draft capital to get the star, because all these guys are pretty good complementary pieces. And I mean, it's Toronto, it's Darko Rajakovic. They're going to be a pesky defensive team at the very least. I think that's the goal. Figure out if any of your young guys are number one guys. And if not, then you get that guy in the summer.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, I think they should add depth. Like you said, they got the starting five. So, like, use this draft to figure out if you can get a 6-man or if you can get him in free agency. That'd be cool, too. One thing that I did see is they have 3 second-round picks in the draft this year, which is something to keep an eye on, because if one of those guys hit and they become a rotation guy, then that's huge.
And they did a very good job drafting this summer, too. Like Jamal Shed, Jamison Battle, Jonathan Mogbo, Ochai Agbaji, who they got too. He had a really good year this year. Like, they have good.
Brady Dick was a great draft.
Yeah, I mean, they have very good young pieces across the board. I'm excited for Raptors basketball, man. It should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, their GM Masai Ujiri, is that how you say his name?
Yep,
Masai Ujiri.
Yeah. He knows how to build good teams. And he knows it's gonna. If it takes a couple of years, he knows how to do it. It's just he's a very underrated GM, and I think he's gonna start getting his flowers in the next coming years when they start looking like the 2019 Raptors again.
Yeah, they have a lot of decent pieces, so they're definitely one of the brighter futures of all these lottery teams for sure. Let's see. Next up, let's go to the Nets. Let's go to the Brooklyn Nets here. Who you talk about a team that is going to have a lot of money to spend this offseason. They're going to have a ton, because besides Nick Claxton and Cam Johnson, basically everyone is an expiring contract that's coming off the books. So they're going to have full reign to make whatever moves they want. They have 3 first-round picks this year, including their own, I believe. And then they have a bunch of first-round picks they own over the next few seasons. So, Nick, what do you think the Nets should be looking to do this offseason?
Fill their roster.
Yeah, I mean,
we got 2 players.
Yeah, they'll have to figure out who they want to keep.
Hey, they got 3 first-round draft picks. So from the Bucks, or is it 4?
They might have 4. They have the Bucks.
It's 4, yeah. Bucks, Knicks, Rocket. Wait.
No, they have
Thunder,
3.
Rockets, Suns swap potentially.
And then their own.
And then their own. So yeah, they'll have a lot of different moves they could do. This team could look completely different. The question is how different, and if that's going to be enough to make any real noise.
They're not worried about noise right now, because next year's draft, like they're playing for next year's draft too. They can get Cooper Flag and then AJ DeBensta next year. That's your duo. like you're set for a long time. But I mean, I think they should get rid of Cam Johnson. I really do. I mean, I know he'd be a good building block, but man, I feel like they could get a good haul from teams like the Grizzlies, like the Rockets, like even, I mean, the Warriors, like all these teams, like some of the, like obviously the Warriors don't need crazy amounts of shooting. They got Steph and Buddy Hield, like the 2 best shooters of the last decade.
Heck, the Thunder.
Yeah, the Thunder. Sam Presti got everything in his toolbox. He could use whatever the hell he needs.
I feel like Cam Johnson is eventually going to be on that Thunder team. That's some sort of like, that's the final piece. I mean, I feel like this summer would be the time to trade him. I mean, he's going to average close to 20 this year, 40% from 3, has improved a lot. And he's already 28 years old. I mean, he came into the league, as an older rookie. Mm-hmm. So, this is probably going to be his career year. So this would be the time to capitalize.
Yeah. Hey, as a Rockets fan, I really want him on the Rockets, because there's one thing we still need is shooting, and he's a sniper. Man,
he would be great on the Rockets. That's actually a player that, like, man.
It would be poetic watching him on the Rockets. I would shed a tear, I think.
Yeah, but I guess there's not really a whole lot to talk about the Nets. I mean, I think they've had a pretty decent year, trading away their veterans for pieces and eventually getting to this position where they are going to maybe have a top pick in the draft overall. So it's worked out in their favor for sure.
Keep developing, keep moving along. I mean, I think they have a bright future. I mean, obviously they don't have some of their picks, but they have this year's pick, and this year's pick is valuable. This is the gold mine year. If you want a good pick, it's this year.
And the fact they have 4 potentially is great.
Like this is a very good. It's a deep draft class. Like there's gonna be good players late.
They'll find a way to mess it up. GFF always does.
All right, so let's not be rude. Okay.
Hey,
I was about to say the GFF are not for long,
I want
but
Jay-Z
Nick,
coming in our
ye of
comments.
little faith.
Nick,
Yeah,
They
still
have
does
the
not
name for a
believe.
reason.
Jay-Z and Beyonce are gonna come complaining in our comments about you dissing their basketball.
It's a year by year thing, and this year they're on the up. They're on the up.
It's not a year by year thing. They've been
No,
doing
Joey
this
has
since the
explained
2010s. And they've been doing this ever since they went from New Jersey to Brooklyn.
Since Darren Williams left.
Well, no, obviously, they are the LA Lakers of GFFs. We know that. We know that. But not every year is going to be the best.
The Jazz deserve this hate too. What have the Jazz done? Oh, they had a great
Jazz.
tournament.
All right, let's go to. All right, let's go to the Jazz if you want to
Who's
talk.
the best Brooklyn net of all time?
Jason Kidd.
Dr.
GFF.
J.
That's not a Brooklyn net. That's a New Jersey net.
Oh, the best Brooklyn net. All right. Let's move on. That's enough. That's enough. Utah Jazz. Utah Jazz. What do we think about the Utah Jazz? I think
Trade Lowry Markkanen, please. Get him out of purgatory.
They can.
I don't think I've thought about the Utah Jazz in months, actually.
I thought about him yesterday when the Cavs finally ended their streak by beating them.
Yeah, we finally. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but no. So
Yeah.
the Utah Jazz, they're in a position kind of like the Raptors, but way worse. Where they have a lot of young pieces that could all be very good complementary pieces on good teams, but none of them are going to ever be a number 1 guy, or maybe not even a number 2 guy.
Collier could be. But...
Yeah, I like Collier. Has had a very good rookie season. He's been one of the best playmakers. The way Walker Kessler has played, especially the second half of the year, he might be a top 10 center in the NBA. It's been ridiculous. He's been one of the best rebounders, shot blockers, and efficient, paint finishers as well. But I guess, the Jazz, if you're talking about a team that's like, we need to get that top pick in the draft, this is the team that needs it the most, I think.
Well, they're guaranteed top 4 or 5 with their odds?
I don't know, guaranteed. They're not guaranteed. They'll be bottom 2. They'll be a bottom 3 team, actually. And I think the worst they could fall is like 6.
Yeah, I think obviously Coop would be a good fit. Dylan Harper, Ace Bailey, just all those top guys. But I saw it in a video. I think it might have been 6 Rings of Steel. He said this. He said, what if they did a Larry Markkanen for Paul George and like 2 firsts or a first in a couple seconds or something. Take on the Paul George money while getting picks and sending Lowry to a place where he could maybe do something. I feel like that would benefit both sides.
Yeah, I don't think trading Lowry would be a bad idea.
And you get picks, and who knows? Paul George could even play well for you. You never know. But
yeah, you could do a similar thing that the Thunder have been doing. Like when the Thunder were tanking and in the rebuilding phase, they would take on veterans' money along with draft picks for a year and then deal them back again for more picks. I don't think I would mind that. I think they should definitely keep Markkanen so far though to kind of see out the rebuild. They haven't had the opportunity to draft at the top of the draft yet, which has been the whole point. Like the last year since they traded Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, they did the thing where they were really competitive until like February. Then they would be bad. That has gotten them guys like Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Cody Williams. This year they decided to go the full. All right, we will just be bad the whole year, and hopefully we'll get a top pick this way. And I think that will work. And this is what they need to do. And this was the draft to have that strategy. So that's really what it's going to be about. It's going to be, I think it's all about the draft. I think that's all it's going to be about.
It literally.
It's all they can bank on right now.
Yeah, it's the worst roster in the league.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, probably. But I don't think it's necessarily the worst. I don't think it's necessarily the worst problem to have right now.
That was one of my questions I was going to ask you guys to wrap this up. Which team is in the worst position?
Worst position is way different.
Worst position. All right, we can get to that after because we still have 2 teams to go over, but that's definitely one to think about. All right, so last 2 teams to go over. We'll go back to the East. We'll go to the Washington Wizards, Jackson's favorite team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah. 2 words: Cooper Flag. I mean, I think they can figure out what they want to do with Smart and Middleton too, if they really want to do anything with them, or if they just want to keep them around as kind of veteran presences. I know Middleton's been playing all right. Like, he's obviously showing that he's regressing, but still be a leader. And then I think I don't know if they necessarily need to do much more. Like, I don't think they need to go and trade Jordan Poole or anything, because Jordan Poole had a great year. And
they can extend him if they want.
Yeah. I mean, maybe on a more team-friendly deal if he'll accept it, which I think never know. He might.
Dude, low-key, I think the Washington Wizards may have had one of the best seasons out of any team in the NBA this year. I think they've had a fantastic year. If we were to grade them, I would put them probably in a B+ or A-. I have loved the season that they've had because they drafted 3 rookies in the first round that have all shown flashes of looking good. Mm-hmm. The one guy, we were maybe thinking will they trade Jordan Poole or will they trade Kyle Kuzma? And they traded the guy that was flat out I'm not going to change the way I play to help develop these other players. And that was awful. So basically a week after that happens, they trade him for veterans to help lead their team, the right, type of players. And the young guys that were already there, like Bilal Coulibaly, Corey Kispert, they had really good years. I mean, they had pretty good seasons, and they've been awful. They've been awful at winning games. Yeah. So they are going to have a chance to get that top pick and get that franchise-altering piece with all these young defensive players. So I really like what the Wizards did this year.
I agree with you. Going into this year, one of my plans for the Wizards, if they were to call this season a success at all, was to either trade Poole or Kuzma. And like you said, they traded the right one. I still think this year they should trade Poole and get more assets. But that's just because I want to see Goglin in as much pain as possible.
I don't know if it'd be pain, though. I mean, we talked about Trae Young on the if Jordan Poole was on the Magic.
Oh, I'd love that. Oh,
that'd be awesome. That'd be exactly what they need. But they're not gonna. I'd be shocked if they traded Jordan.
No, they're the 1 seed if that happens. I'm not even kidding.
They're the 1 seed. Oh my god.
Run it back.
No, they did have a success. They traded Kuzma, so they got rid of the one. Their draft picks, I would say they hit on all of them. I would say especially Bub Carrington and Alex Sarr. They both been playing really. What?
Do you know who the third one was?
No, I forgot.
George.
There it is.
He's been hooping. Hooping.
Yeah, no, they hit on all 3 of them. Like you said, their other guys developed pretty well.
They traded for AJ Johnson mid-year too. Yeah. That could be good as well. I mean, I love the way that they're positioning themselves for the future. And they also have, they have their own first-round pick this year, and they also have 2 second-round picks. With room to draft some more players. So I really like the position that the Wizards are putting themselves in.
Go Wizards.
You
guys are so optimistic and positive. It makes me sick.
Why? Shout out. The Wizards had a very good year.
They lost 16 games in a row. Not just once. 2 different times this season. They had a 16-game losing streak, and you guys are giving them flowers.
Think they should have won the games?
No. I'm just saying.
That is very good. That is quite good.
It's the most impressive thing about their season. I'll give them that.
Pipe it down, Charlie Brown.
We wanted them to tank, right? They tank for Cooper Flag. Here they go.
They've tanked. They've hit on their first-round picks. They traded a locker room cancer, you could say, to get you know, to get a rookie and a veteran. This is a win of a season. This is one of the better years.
So let's leave Nick's on optimism in the past, because let's talk about a player that the Wizards probably regret trading, because he's been playing out of his dang mind for the
Blazers.
Trailblazers. Denny Avdia.
Bro.
Nice segue.
Great segue.
Not even mad that you said something about me.
That boy is cold. I'm sorry. I'm trying to concentrate on talking about how cold Denny Avdia is. Sorry. Yeah. But dude, the Trailblazers, talking about the best position. Man, I like this team for the future too. I really like this team.
Miles is gushing right now.
Dude,
He's
I'm so excited for Portland Trailblazers basketball. You guys know this. They've got defenders. They've got scorers.
Donovan Clingan.
Yeah, they got shot blocking, you know, in the future. I mean, I think the center position is still something that they'll need to address, as far as like they've got Ayton, Robert Williams, and Clingan there. I think they still got to trade one of them to open
Jeremy
up.
Grant.
Yeah, Jeremy Grant is still there. I mean, there is still things that they need to address, but I mean, when you look at teams with defense going forward, like they've got Denny Avdia, they've got Tamani Kamara, you know, to start games, you know, at the wings positions, Donovan Clingan to protect the rim, and then I mean, I think this team just needs to get a clear-cut number one scorer type of guy. I mean, Anthony Simons, I think, is really good. I think
he's supposed to be Scoot, but he hasn't really gotten there.
He might. I mean, it was only his second season. You know, I think the third year for those young point guards is kind of where they're going to make that jump. And he's shown flashes, you know, in his second year, being able to shoot the ball a little bit, make plays, you know, a little bit more efficiently. So their big thing is just getting that clear number one score, because the defense, the rebounding, they've got it covered.
They need shooting too, and I think I know I've been talking a lot about the draft, but I think they could really benefit from having Liam McNeely out of UConn or Con Knippel. Those are just two guys who catch and shoot, just bury them. They're
freaking laser beam.
Laser beam, exactly. Laser pointed at Earth. I want Iguodala.
9-7 since the All-Star break for the Blazers.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, the Spurs and the Blazers are only 2.5 games back of Dallas and Phoenix at 11. And Dallas might have jumped up now again, since Anthony Davis just came back as we're recording. Which, by the way, shout out to Anthony Davis and coming back, and even the Suns for playing better as of late, because they're not gonna. Neither of those teams are gonna. We're not talking about them in this video, because they're still in the hunt, man. They're still in the hunt, and honestly, technically, so are the Blazers.
I don't want to. I just want to, I'm sick of the Suns.
I'm so sick of the Suns.
I'm kind of sick of the Suns as well. But yeah, Portland Trailblazers, very excited for their next year. I mean, the Western Conference is obviously so loaded and tough. You know, it's why it's going to be difficult. I mean, them getting off to a slow start this year is going to end up costing them, because they could have been a postseason team if they didn't start off the year pretty badly. But then that's something that they can learn for next year. I mean, the progression has been, you know, very, very solid for that team throughout the year, because there were questions on whether Chauncey Billups could maybe get fired.
Right.
I think he might be on an expiring contract for head coach, so they might look to improve that, or maybe bring Chauncey back. I think his leadership's been good over this stretch where they have been winning games, but, you know, it's something that we could watch.
What do you think about this? Do you think if Philly fires Nick Nurse,
No,
the Blazers go after him?
Philly's not going to fire Nick Nurse, because that'd be the smart thing to do, and they don't do the smart thing.
Nick Nurse wouldn't be bad for the Blazers.
No, I think he'd be good.
I just don't think that'll happen.
They should have fired Chauncey last year and picked up JB Bickerstaff. It would have been way better.
Dallas outscored Brooklyn 32-17 in the first quarter tonight.
That's what you got to do.
A team in the finals last year outscored the GFF 32-17.
This is not.
Wow! Wow! This is incredible.
Let's not go that far. The team that was in the finals last year.
Let's recalibrate ourselves to this. This Blazers team is literally screaming to me Rockets from last year.
All right, you guys want to hear these questions?
Yes.
All right, fine. No, it's fine.
Let's hear the question. No, I agree with you, Jackson.
What I said's fine. No, it's fine. Just drop the whatever.
I agree. Let's hear the questions.
Which team of these lotteries is in the worst position?
You were gonna ask that question?
Yeah. He said he was going to ask the question.
I know. Miles, it was a joke.
Come on, guys.
Can I get Philadelphia 76ers for plus 1 million to the moon? Awful position.
I definitely think it's either the Sixers or the Jazz. Because the Sixers, like we said it already, it's heavily reliant on, first off, Paul George maybe this was just a bad year for him and he bounces back and health.
Man.
But you also don't have much of a roster behind that.
But also, they're the only team in this lottery right now that might not even get their own pick.
That's what also makes it worse. But they're also in the best position, what if they do get their pick and everyone's healthy?
Yes, this could be a team that is in championship contention next year.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, it can't be the worst positions, but the Jazz are also really just bad too.
No way we're talking
But
about.
I also like the Jazz's position because they get a first round because they have one of the best chances to get Cooper Flag. This is a tough question. I mean, I think the easy answer is Philly because of the year that they just had and that they are older.
You guys are saying championship contender. We'll believe it when we see it, man. Paul George, I'm hoping it's a bad year, but man, he looked like he aged 44 years.
I mean, it was also, Tyrese Maxey is also still there. They'll have Jared McCain. You can talk. I mean, this team should be a playoff team in contention next year. I mean, that's the whole point. If not, I mean, then that's a failure. But let's see, worst position. Jeez, I guess out of these, I guess it would be the Jets. You know what? I'm gonna go the Charlotte Hornets.
Thank you. Yeah. See, me and Miles are on the same wavelength always.
I'm gonna go the Hornets because, like we just talked about, I don't know if they're led by a guy that is the best leader, is a winner, and if they want to trade him, I don't know who would want to take him. So I'm gonna go Hornets.
That's fair.
My favorite video is him riding around on his go-kart on top of his roof.
All right, now. The team that was in the lottery last year that's going to have the most wins this year is the Houston Rockets. They're on pace to get more than 50 wins. So my question for you guys is, do you think any of these teams in the lottery this year can get to 50 wins next year?
No. Well,
50
yes.
We were just saying.
San Antonio Spurs.
Not in the loaded West.
That's what they
the Rockets just did. I mean,
I've been calling the Spurs for 50 wins for 3 years, so I'm with you there.
That's
right. Oh my god.
That's like me saying, oh, in like 10 years, the Wizards are going to be a 50-win team in within the next 10 years. No, I don't know.
50 wins
say it every year. It's not going to happen.
I think it can be the Sixers because there's
Sixers, still a lot. Yeah, I think.
Like if Embiid's healthy, McCain's healthy, Maxey's healthy, if they get everybody back,
season and expect me to believe it.
Isn't it? Hold on.
When's the last time he played 50 games?
MVP.
Yeah, MVP.
All right, that was what, 8 years ago almost. Jeez.
I mean, this is a team that when
it was 2.
Guys,
when
they're
healthy,
to the Pelicans right now.
I mean, you look. This is a team like last year they got destroyed by injury, so obviously they're gonna be way bad. But when this team is like even like last year, Embiid missed a lot of the season with the meniscus, and they basically won 50 games.
Right.
I also just like with the Spurs, you can't compare them even to the Rockets, just because the Rockets. They have a lot of young guys, but all their spots were basically filled. They had a deep team. They were just young and waiting to develop, and they finally hit their stride.
But
the Spurs still have a lot of holes.
The Spurs got 2 top 25 to 30 players.
Yeah.
And they have.
So Joey says Philly, Miles says Philly, Jackson says nobody.
Well, no. I think Philly's is the chicken answer.
The question is, can any team reach 50 wins?
I think Philly can. I think the Spurs could, and I think the Pelicans could.
Guys, hear me out.
Pelicans are probably another close one, I could say.
Hear me out. the Toronto Raptors fully healthy.
Pass. Next question.
All right.
That's not a
I
bad
was
team.
thinking them, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like that team is going to be sweet.
Miles just said we don't even know if they have a guy on their roster who's going to be their guy.
But that's the question.
You don't
If
need a guy in the
there
regular
is,
season.
that's what they need to figure out. But if there is a guy that is a clear-cut number one, then this team could be really good. So I don't
Okay,
think
Philly and San Antonio have that question answered. I can buy 50 wins for them. I do not buy it for Toronto.
I'm with you.
Even New Orleans has Zion. I don't buy it for Toronto. I think that's
I
a
don't buy
stretch.
it for no dang Philly.
How many 50-win teams are there in like each conference?
Right now, there's 1, 2, 3.
Let's
total.
see. Well, let's see. So
Rockets
in
will
the
probably get
East,
there.
Cleveland, Boston.
Nuggets will get there. Lakers might get there.
Yeah, how many in the East? Because since we're talking about
East, 3. I don't think the Pacers will. Well, the Pacers might.
You
Bucks
gotta
definitely.
go to the
Pacers
projection.
might, Knicks probably will, and Celtics, Cavs already do. So we'll go 4 in the East, and let's say 5 in the West.
Yeah.
5 in the West. So 9. They're usually we'll say
Yeah.
that they're 950. They're going
Do
to
you
be
think
9.
the Raptors can knock out one of those teams?
But this is like, did any of us think that the Houston Rockets could be that
Outside
at
of
this time
Godwin.
last year?
Outside of you, Godwin, no.
No, we did
That's
not.
true.
So I think,
I also didn't expect the Timberwolves to fall off this much.
no. So I mean, that's the thing. There are going to be teams
Yeah.
that fall off and some teams that improve. So in that, I just don't think the Raptors are going to do that. If I had to place, tiers on it, in tier 1 it'd be Philly and San Antonio and New Orleans.
Yeah.
I'm looking. Why is everyone saying that the Timberwolves are like this Western Conference final contender and they're an 8th seed? Because I from how people have been talking about them, I thought they were like the 2 seed or something.
Yeah, it's the inconsistency. But Nick, what's your next question?
I got one question left.
All right.
Yeah. See it.
It should be a pretty simple answer. But I don't know. There's some questions around this man's health. So which team will win the finals first?
Out of these
All these teams?
Whoa. You said
It's
this
just a
man's health.
prediction.
I know you weren't talking about Joel Embiid right there.
No, I was talking about Vic.
Thank you. Okay, good. So, see,
Yeah, I feel like the easy answer is the Spurs.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going by lottery teams, the Mavericks, but I'm just kidding. No,
out of the 9
honestly,
that we talked about today,
the Blazers.
Stop.
Blazers. No.
I definitely the easy answer is the Spurs.
Can I just say whoever gets Cooper flag?
that's valid.
That's actually fair.
Is that a cop-out answer? I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah,
to be fair, there was a lot of
No.
teams who were saying here that
No,
if they
'cause I
had
feel-
Cooper flag.
I feel like whoever gets Dylan Harper too. Dylan Harper, we're sleeping on that guy. He's a beast. But
Spurs.
yeah, I'd have to say Spurs.
Vic
Yeah.
and Fox. Like, what's the argument?
And they're still in Cooper contention. Let's not forget.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, Spurs in the West, Sixers in the East.
Yep.
Have to.
You're just trying to trigger Jackson.
Wait, who did he say? Sixers?
Yeah, Sixers in the East.
Hey, he's entitled to his opinion, man. I don't agree with it.
Maybe I could talk myself in. I could actually talk myself into the Toronto Raptors.
My man, getting yourself.
I could totally see a quick timeline where it's all right. They figure out who the number 1 option is next year. All right, they trade for one the next year. It's like boom.
Yeah.
There they
Yeah.
go.
They could still draft one this year.
They could still draft one. It's crazy.
Like if they get a Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey, that's your number 1 option. Like that's who you develop as your number 1 option.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys are just they're score.
Yeah.
Granted, they don't play much defense. That's why Rutgers sucked this year because they gave up a gazillion points. But yeah.
So there's a look at every lottery team's off season. Definitely great to talk about all these teams now, since we probably won't for the next few months unless, there are some.
Thank goodness.
Hey, you know what? That's a question. Which coaches will get fired? Will any coach get fired from
Jordy
the
Sanders is good. Darko's good.
Probably the Suns coach. What's
Bud's gone.
Budenholzer?
Bud, yeah, Bud might be gone, dude.
Bud is what you put in tuna. He is canned.
That was
Yeah.
terrible.
All right, we got to end it on that.
Yeah, we do, unfortunately. Well, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Peace.
Peace.